Hey everyone, Sky here to discuss How to Train Your Dragon 2, featuring the voices of G.B.M.H, Cate Blanchett, Gerard Butler, Craig Ferguson, America Ferrera, Kit Harington, Jonah Hill, Jaimin Hounsou, T.J. Miller, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, and Kristen Wiig, and directed by Dean DeBlois. Now I remember seeing this in theaters, but I haven't seen it since then, and I only watched it twice for this review, so I've only seen it in total maybe 3 times? Yeah, that sounds right. So, what do I think of it then versus now? Well, it's going to be the same, but let me just tell you how it goes. I like the opening sequence of Astrid returning voice of America Ferrera, Snoltow returning voice of Jonah Hill, Roughnut returning voice of Kristen Wiig, Toughnut returning voice of T.J. Miller, and Fishlegs returning voice of Christopher Mintz-Plasse, playing a game with their dragons with putting sheep in the basket, and Hiccup is nowhere to be found, but he's flying with Toothless, and Hiccup returning voice of G.B.M.H flies on his own with his own invention of his own wings, and I'm again really liking these characters back again. Hiccup's father, Stoic, returning voice of Gerard Butler, asks of Hiccup when he dies, Hiccup takes over the village, meaning he'll be chief of Berk. And Hiccup didn't say anything because he thinks it's not his responsibility. And I like the way Hiccup tells the story, and Astrid does what Hiccup does with his shoulders, while Hiccup sounds like Stoic. That was funny how he tells it. Hiccup and Astrid run into Eret, son of Eret, voiced by Kit Harington, whose boss Drago, voiced by Jaimin Hounsou, is a dragon rider and controls dragons by screaming at those dragons, as we get an alpha dragon later in the film. I'll talk about that later. And Eret tries to capture dragons to collect them to Drago. And I really like these characters, and the actors voicing them are terrific in their roles. Hiccup warns Stoic about Drago's army rising and is going to attack them. Hiccup, after being told the story about who Drago is by Stoic, runs into his mother Volca, voiced by Cate Blanchett all those years ago. And Hiccup finds his mother after all these years, and I really love the animation of the world she lives in. It's absolutely breathtaking. And it's full of many different dragons. It's very beautiful looking, too. Astrid captures Eret, and the way Astrid says Stormfly, drop him. And Stormfly is her dragon, in case anybody wasn't aware of that. And she drops Eret and says, good girl, Stormfly, fetch. And fetches him. And I thought that was hilarious. This is working the same level of good as the first one, in my opinion. Astrid and the rest of the gang with their dragons get captured and taken to Drago, and Drago shows how powerful his roars are, and he takes them as hostages. And Drago prepares to attack Berk at once. Meanwhile, Hiccup tells Stoic Valka is alive after all these years, and they have a very strong heart during that scene. And Astrid getting captured is an intense scene as well. Eret decides to save Astrid and the gang from Drago and their dragons. And I do like how Eret betrays Drago and becomes a dragon rider. That was a good sequence to know Eret has a good heart by the end of the day. Drago attacks Valko's dragons and steals them away. And Valko's dragons versus Drago's dragons was a tough and brutal fight. And Drago's dragon wins, and Drago turns Toothless into a killing machine with the Alpha. And Toothless kills Stoic with his firepower because of the mind of the Alpha, which was a sad sequence, which I cried during that sequence that first time I saw this movie in theaters. Hiccup has a plan to stop Drago for good and gets baby dragons to fly with them, and Drago has an army of dragons, and they go to Berk to stop them. And Hiccup gets Toothless back from Drago, and Hiccup challenges the Alpha, and Toothless wins the fight against the Alpha, and gets everyone their dragons back, and Astrid and the gang with Hiccup play one more round of Target Sheep. Hiccup becomes the chief, and that again was a beautiful ending in my opinion. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 9.2 out of 10. Not quite as good as the first one, but almost there. But I love the Dragon World and the characters, especially the new ones. It has such a great heart and very good funny moments, and I'm very much looking forward to part 3, but at the same time, I'm a little nervous about it, and I'll explain why next week. And I did see it already, but I'm not going to say what I thought of it versus the spoilers. That's for next week's show to reveal. And I will be back next week with How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. And until next time, fly, dragon, fly.